How we doing, Bruins fans? Welcome into another episode of the UCLA Bruins Insider Podcast on Sports Illustrated here on the Fans First Sports Network. I'm your host, Tom Cavanaugh, and tonight we're going to be recapping this UCLA Bruins win over Cal State Fullerton at home, 80-47, another 30-plus point win. 5 wins at home so far for the Bruins. They improved to 5-1. 4 of those 5 have been by 30-plus points. So they continue to dominate the teams that they're better than on paper, size-wise, talent, whatever it may be. They handle business. I know they only took down Idaho State by 14 points the other night earlier this week, but that's a good team. They had played Arizona State and USC very close, losing to ASU by 7 and then losing to USC by 1 point. So when you look around the stat sheet here for the Bruins, you really like what you see. Not only in the points total, because there was 5 different guys that scored in double digits. The offensive rebounding for them was solid. They forced 21 turnovers, translating that to 27 points off of those giveaways. Very, very, very impressive from UCLA. There was one aspect, though, that was pretty shaky and continues to plague this team. They need to pick it up. They need to be able to solve this issue before they get into conference play in 2 games. They got one more game against Southern Utah before they are home against Washington to kick off Big Ten play, and that's where the real tests start. So we'll talk about a few guys that led the team scoring-wise. First, kick it off with Kobe Johnson. I mean, he nearly led the team in every single stat. 12 points, led the team. 6 rebounds, led the team. 5 assists, led the team. And how about 6 steals? Led the team in that category too. Kobe had his best game, bar none. It wasn't his highest point total. He had 16 against Ryder in the season opener. But my goodness, I mean, he is able to impact the game in so many different ways. He was an all-defensive player in the Pac-12 for USC back when he was there in his first couple of years before transferring this offseason. He's a leader, and he's showing it not only in his being vocal and coaching up some of the guys too, but with his play on the floor. He was 4 of 8 from shooting from the field. He was 4 of 6 from the free throw line, and really chipped in every aspect. That 6 steals on there is really impressive. I mean, he's a Tayshaun Prince type of long guard with a huge wingspan. So him getting in passing lanes, he's really good at that. And putting up 12 points as well is great. A couple of guys with 11 points apiece, just doing their thing as usual. Transfers, sophomore Eric Daly Jr., the sophomore, and then Tyler Bilodeau, the junior forward from Oregon State, both with 11 points apiece. Bilodeau was 1 of 3 from deep. Daly was 1 of 2 from deep. Both of them had a huge dunk, a little one-hand jam from both of them in the game, showing off some highlights and stuff, looking real good in that aspect on the pick and roll. But they're just continuing to do their thing. Bilodeau, a little bit under his season average of 15, 16 points a game. Doesn't matter, though, because so many different guys scored in double digits to give them 80 total points. So if Bilodeau is able to give you anywhere from 10 to 15, you're going to be all right, considering other guys can pick you up like an Eric Daly Jr., like a Kobe Johnson. And that's going to translate perfectly into another guy that can help out. How about the true freshman, Trent Perry, man? 10 points on the night, career high for him. He was 2 of 2 from deep, 4 of 5 from the field entirely. This kid is, and that's just in 12 minutes of play. When he was in the ball game, he impacted it tenfold. Like, I know he only had 2 rebounds and 2 assists, but he was active defensively, didn't force any turnovers, but he played good defense, just blanket over a guy. His intensity is high, he dives for the loose balls, and for him to finally get double digits on the scoreboard, just kind of getting familiar. This is his 6th game now at the at the Division I level, at the highest level of Division I. Now, I know the opponents he has played besides New Mexico have not been to that same caliber, but he's continuing to play in a huge arena on John Wooden Court inside Pauley Pavilion, in front of a huge fan base for one of the most historic programs in college basketball history, and he's doing this. So hats off to Trent Perry. He's shaping up to be one of the better Big Ten freshmen this season. Adai Mara as well. He came to play, only had 13 minutes of time, but he made the most of it. 10 points, 5 rebounds, 4 of 6 from the field. He was 2 of 4 shooting from the line. Cronin would have loved to see those other 2 go down for him to finish with a dozen. But Adai, he once again utilized his size. He's a 7'3" sophomore at the center position. And once again tonight, he was on the pick and roll well with Kobe Johnson. He was getting fed on lobs and getting offensive rebounds. Great day for Adai. William Kyle III added 8 points as well. He was 4 of 4 from the field, did not miss. And then Dylan Andrews. We talked about him returning from injury against Idaho State earlier this week. He went 2 of 6 from three-point land, 3 of 8 overall, and finished with 8 points and 4 assists. Now, when you look at team stats, we already talked about the points off turnovers, but the points in the paint. Bruins scored 80 total. 40 of those were in the paint. So half of their buckets came inside the key. Big time from Bilodeau, Daly, William Kyle III, Adai, all those guys getting in there from deep. And even Kobe Johnson, he was 0 for 1 from three-point range. He did not pull it from deep very often. So he was getting in there as well. And this is just another good example of a team that took advantage of their size and exploited the Titans of Cal State Fullerton. Offensive rebounding, solid on their part. 12 offensive rebounds, 24 total. So there was a lot of second chance points for UCLA, which was good. When you look at the other side of it, defensive rebounding for UCLA was not very sharp whatsoever. They allowed 13 offensive rebounds from Cal State, and that's pretty inexcusable. And I after this, going to take a look at what head coach Mick Cronin had to say, and I guarantee you when we have a story come out about that tomorrow, he's going to mention the offensive rebounding continues to be an issue. And when they play their Big Ten games and they're facing the Arizonas of the world or the North Carolinas, the Gonzagas, you cannot allow 13 offensive rebounds. Because when you look at it, 7 second chance points for Cal State Fullerton off of 13 offensive rebounds. When you play a really darn good team, that number is not going to be 7. It's going to be 15, 20, 25 points. It could be anything upwards of double digits there. So got to clean up the offensive or the defensive rebounding, I should say, not allowing second chance buckets from a team like Cal State Fullerton. I'm not knocking them. They're just not as big. And when you're not as big, you should not grab as many rebounds. That's just how it goes. But it showed itself today. It flared up once again. And this team needs to be able to throw a body on someone and continue. I mean, maybe pull out the old Tom Izzo method and get some shoulder pads on during practice and really go body to body and blocking guys out so that you're able to, corral that rebound off of just one missed shot from their opponent. Another really solid stat as well to look at. We talked about the distribution of the basketball, the facilitation between different players. Yes, many different people scored in double digits, but when you look at it, 30 made baskets. Tip your cap to the Bruins again. They shot 50% from the field, 30 of 60. But of those 30, they had 22 assists. So they are always moving the basketball and doing a really nice job on the pick and roll. They're finding the open man, the extra pass for the better shot, doing all the things that head coach Mick Cronin has taught over the years and we're getting accustomed to after watching his Final Four team and the traditional Mick Cronin style offense we've seen over the last 5, now 6 seasons. Very, very solid in that aspect of sharing the basketball. And then also 14 steals. Obviously, they got 27 or 21 turnovers. But 14 steals that's impressive. And if they can do that and continue to be a dominant defensive team when it comes to Big Ten time, I know we're talking about the areas of improvement, but that's somewhere where they can exploit teams and really, really take over a ball game late. Because if you're up by 1 or 2 scores with under 2 minutes to go, and you're able to find that key turnover, that key steal, get a hand in the lane, pick a ball off, that's the difference between being a top 4 seed in the Big Ten tournament or winning a game to become March Madness eligible. So overall, good game for the Bruins. They shot the ball well, not so much from three-point range. They were just 6 of 18, 33%. But it's tough to beat what they did the other night, shooting 64 from deep, 9 of 14, which was madness. So UCLA, one more game, as we mentioned at the top of the pod. They're going to play Southern Utah, a pretty darn good Southern Utah team, too, is 5-1 right now. So that should be a good test for the Bruins. And then after that game, by the way, will be next Tuesday. After that, they will play the Washington Huskies at home to tip off Big Ten play. Both of those teams, first years in the conference, and it's going to be a good test. I mean, just watching post-game of the Bruins today, Alcorn State competed with Washington for a good chunk of that game. That was last night. Huskies ended up winning by 17 points, but still they showed their issues at times, and UCLA with Idaho State as well. They did as well, losing or winning by 14 points only. So both these teams should stack up pretty evenly. think there's a little more talent on the UCLA side. There's definitely more depth and more experience. We'll break it down after that Southern Utah game next Tuesday. But until then, this has been the UCLA Bruins Insider Podcast here on Sports Illustrated from the Fans First Sports Network. I'm Tom Cavanaugh. You can follow me on Twitter at TCAV30. And then follow our insider pages on Twitter/X and Facebook. That is at UCLA Insider on SI. Thanks so much, everybody, for listening. We will see you again tomorrow on the UCLA Bruins Insider Pod.